So, or have a lecture of some kind. I don't exactly know what you'd like me to talk about, so you direct me and I will do the best I can.
Well, I think a good spot to start here would be talking about the idea of manual piloting, grid manipulation, and why the Neo Tokyo OST is the best OST out there.
Well, Neo Tokyo, Ed Harrison is probably one of the most incredible music artists that create minimalist electronic music. Probably the best album ever. I'm honestly the favorite album I have. Every song is good. But as far as manual piloting is concerned, like would you exactly like to know about it? Because there's really two big things that you would use manual piloting for, and that's like transversal control and mitigation, and then also for like spiraling in, also for like helping your application if you're using large guns, like if you're flying an Oracle, or if you're an Omen Navy issue trying to kill like a malediction, something like that.
I mean, there's people here that have been playing for a few years, and there are people here who have probably been playing for like a day or two. So I mean, I think just like starting from the very beginning, like I'm sure, like I always try to like explain like the spiraling and how all that shit works, like how transversal and angular velocity works and stuff. But I'm sure there's still people here that haven't even heard of it yet. Right. But so, with you explaining that, like time.
I'm making a live action movie, or not movie, but video that's going to go up on my channel that will explain transversal and angular very, very well. And it's difficult to explain those concepts just by talking about it. But I guess I can try and use like a thought experiment for people that may or may not know. So like pretend that you have a ship just going in a straight line, just burning away in a straight line, okay? And it's doing nothing but burning in a straight line, okay? And your ship is behind that ship, and he's burning in a straight line as well, okay? And you're right behind him, so you're both burning towards the same, like towards the sun, except he's like 50 yards or 50 kilometers ahead of you, and you're just both burning at him. This is the first part of transversal that we'll talk about. At this moment, your transversal 0. It doesn't matter if his speed is 20 kilometers a second and yours is 5 kilometers a second. It doesn't matter if the situation is reversed. It doesn't matter if both of you are moving 0 ms, if both of you are moving, like 5 kilometers a second, transversal is 0. The only way I can describe this to you using the thought experiment is it's just called heading crossing angle. Is like in actual dogfighting terms, it's heading crossing angle, but like that transversal is 0. Anytime you're on the same plane of movement of another ship, your transversal is always 0, and the only thing that controls transversal at that point is...
That's who you cut out.
Oh, did I cut out?
No, that was just for him.
You're good.
Okay. So like that's like the first part of transversal. So you never ever want to click approach on someone, because if they see that you're approaching them and they start heating their MWD away, or they start click and start burning away in the other direction, you're going to get into a situation where you're flying, like the computer of Eve will tell your ship to fly right at them. And if they start flying away at a high rate of speed, your heading crossing angle is going to go to 0 really fast, because you're both going to be, burning away at a straight line. You burning towards them, and they're just going to start going straight. Transversal will be 0, which is why, like, I can't explain. This sounds so stupid, and I'm probably getting nowhere with talking like this, because diagrams and just like showing like 2 like paper airplane models can explain this so much better than me talking. But at the end of the day, the simple rules for transversal, I guess I'm just trying to shorten this. Never ever click approach on a target, and when you want to chase someone down, click to the side of them. Don't click like directly ahead of them, because that'll also do that, and try to stay out of their plane. So for example, like if you can go below or above them, that will help increase your transversal at that point. So like how 2 ships have 0 transversal if they're both moving towards the same celestial burning in a straight line. If you are above, below, to the side, or just like not directly on their angle, but on like a slightly different angle of azimuth, going towards the celestial, then at that point you have a little bit of transversal. Like if you're going like 5k a second and the battleship on like your directly left side at 90 degrees is going only 1k a second, you have 4,000 meters of transversal a second, which is actually quite a lot, even though you're just flying straight past them. Of course, if you fly this is getting nowhere. I'm so sorry, Horde.
You're doing good.
This is it just works so much better with the diagram. It's so much easier to explain and understand. And I think I'm just sounding like a retard just going in circles.
It's reasonably understandable so far.
Yeah. Like, if you're very good at memorizing triangles.
Let me think for a second here. So
Read Skype.
I wish I could just show you like a few diagrams because that would help me explain like concepts like heading crossing angle, and like once you understand that, then transversal becomes so easy to understand. And I think I'm making it worse for you. So I almost don't want to talk about it that much anymore, other than just to say like simple rules for new guys. Never click approach on a turret ship. Missile ships, it doesn't matter. Missile ships are great because as long as you just keep your speed up, you're doing the best you can to reduce transversal, or just turn your NWD off, and you'll tank much better against a missile ship. Of course, you have an AV, always keep the AV on because that will just massively reduce the damage that you'll take. But against turret ships, never click approach on them. If you want to approach a turret ship, click like to the right or left or above them, and then just slowly start moving back towards where they are on your screen. Fly with the tactical overlay up, Control D, very helpful. And slowly start coming up to them like at a nice, like an arc. Like think of like a curveball. Make your ship a curveball.
Fibonacci spiral.
Sure, Fibonacci spiral if you want to
I
get all
think that's what they're
technical.
called.
Sure, we can go with that. But like the curveball is like throw your ship in a curveball, I guess is what I want to say. That'll keep you off going directly at them. And same thing goes for flying away from a ship. Never click a celestial and just fly away directly. Sometimes, even though it seems counterintuitive, flying away in a spiral or in a curve to pull range on targets will actually keep you alive if you're pointed. Or of course, always try and warp out as fast as you can, but flying away in an arc or a spiral instead of just like clicking on a celestial and trying to burn away in a straight line if you're pointed, that will turn your transversal to 0 as well, because the people chasing you will click approach and their transversals will be 0 and they will then shoot you. But both of those things are kind of important. And I guess it just takes a little bit of practice. For the guys that fly light tackle, I have a light tackle video, which I highly suggest you watch because it has a little bit of diagrams and it shows in-game how I manually pilot in a circle and how I like keep my arcs. And you could watch that and maybe it would become more clear than me just rambling on right like I'm doing right now. But yes.
The idea of using your opponent's own inertia against them, basically.
Right.
There's a link in Mumble, guys.
Nice. Yeah, Chessur FC, do you have a napkin
Do I have a what?
in your vicinity? Do you have a napkin and a pen?
Yeah, why?
You can like just draw on that and then scan it in.
Oh, I
Just
guess
did
I
a
could.
quick MS Paint.
There
I
you
guess
go.
I guess I could do that. Yeah.
Get
Yeah,
a quick
actually,
going.
that is correct right there. That if anyone wants to open up that imager file, actually, that actually is pretty correct. That is good. So if the enemy is the arrow moving in that direction, heading crossing angle of where that good transversal line is, that's 90 degrees because your hull is 90 degrees to them, and the transversal 0 is at 0 because there's 0 degrees of difference between your hull and their hull, even though you're going in the same line. So if you can think about it that way, hopefully it will help you. If both of you guys are going in the same direction, which happens a lot if you're trying to catch a kiter, so the kiter will, in order to reduce transversal, they'll heat their MWD and start burning away. And to catch them, you either have to take a really, really roundabout method doing the curveball, which takes a lot of time, or you click approach them and you'll die instantly. So your only option really is to do the curveball. But the thing with the curveball is, once you start making your curve back towards them, you're slowly going to start moving at them more. And if they're good pilots, they'll actually start turning away from you to make less transversal problems for themselves. And at that point, when the transversal of like where you both are heading in space is very low, because your curve is kind of coming to an end and they may be curving to offset that. The only thing that really controls transversal velocity is speed, hence why kiting ships are very fast, because a kiting ship heated MWD can go almost as fast as an interceptor, so it's difficult to maintain transversal. But that imager is really a good basic understanding of it. You have to think of it in 3D space though. So don't forget about going above or below. Don't always just try to go to the same plane, and certainly never click approach on them. That's why manual piloting and clicking in space is kind of important. If you watch my videos, I generally have a mouse highlighter, so you can see how crazy my mouse is going all the time when I'm fighting and flying. Maybe it might make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, sorry guys, I can't do paint in 3D.
Yeah, no.
Not that attitude.
It's unfortunate. I'm gonna make a video, and I really hope that I think it'll explain all of this really well in a better way, in a more succinct way than I'm doing it right now, because I feel like I'm rambling and not making much sense, and I apologize, because this is a concept that is really hard to explain without graphics or like models. Kind of like the women's hot crazy matrix. You know, you need the bar graph to be able to properly visualize.
Oh man, there's a really good video about that.
Mentally,
so
I'm like trying to like picture like how long you're going without breathing, and I'm actually really impressed.
Yeah. I do competitive breath holding,
Nice,
I practice
nice.
it. But
Actually,
I got it.
How's your throat gagging reflex?
How's my throat gag reflex? It's still okay. My boyfriend doesn't like it that much, but
Yeah.
you know, what are you gonna do?
I know
So,
that prop dog.
So when can you?
I have a. Sorry.
Oh, go.
Can I-
No, go ahead. Dude.
I actually have one of those old transversal tutorials made in Flash, which are actually really good at looking at vectors of the different ships, and can actually see how the transversal changes. So actually, I'm going to link here.
Like, wouldn't the better thing to look at be angular velocity? Because that takes in distance plus transversal, like to get your angular velocity. Whereas transversal is just like the speed perpendicular to you. It doesn't matter like what distance. Because I know if they're like 100k away and you have like railguns and they're 100k and they're moving like 100 meters a second, you're gonna be able to hit them probably. But if they're like 1k away from you, you probably won't be. But the transversal is identical at that they're at the same different distances.
Right. Range does play a part in it. At the end of the day, though, I never put radial velocity on because there's already too much information on the HUD most of the time. I just look at it from my eye of where I'm flying in the majority to ships. And if I'm closing down and tackling a ship, you know, you have them locked. Like, my suggestion is to turn your tactical overlay on. And when you click the ship that you're going or trying to attack, there's actually going to be a white line that's going to be drawn from you to that ship. And that white line tells you everything you need to know on, as far as just visually, of transversal velocity and radial velocity, in my opinion. Because once you have the tactical overlay on, you have your ship in the middle of it. And if you're above or below your target, that target has a line drawn straight down to your horizontal line, your horizontal situation indicator, that, like, you know, that those rings that spread out from your ship. And using that straight down line and the diagonal line that's drawn between your ship and the enemy ship, you can kind of tell how your angle velocity is. If you can make a triangle with those three lines with you at one point, and then the long x-axis is the angle. This is going over again. God damn it.
What's the fuck is that thing called? Like the
tactical overlay.
A squared plus b. No. The a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Yeah.
No, Pythagorean theorem.
There you go. Fucking
Pythagorean theorem. But
yeah,
I guess what I'm trying to say is
Pythagorean
using that, you can generally see transversal in large fleet fights. Obviously, if there's a ton of Petes sitting 250k off you, yeah, you better be linked, and you better know how to fly your ship, and you better be in a properly fit interceptor. Otherwise, they'll probably kill you.
So Pete's, for anyone who's wondering, is a Tengu with railguns that can shoot out to 250 kilometers.
And they're very, 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 very difficult to probe down.
Well, it's just from a tracking point of view. Listen, there's a few ways to get really good tracking. Well, the first is just to have really high tracking guns. So like 220 autocannons, blasters, webbing and scramming your target increases the ability for you to track them immensely. Obviously, these things are all that new players should know. The other great way to increase tracking is speed. If you are faster than the enemy ship, you control the tracking. You control basically everything because you can burn away from them at a high rate of speed and they can't catch you and they're forced to approach you, which is good for you because you can track them better. Or you can burn away from them in a circle at a higher rate of speed than they can catch you and you can distort their tracking. It's keen to keep in mind that that tracking is mirrored. So the tracking that you have on your target is the exact same that your target has on you at all times. I mean, there may be slight differences based on the 1 second server ticks and the pull rate of the Eve server, but it's good to keep that in mind, that your transversal is the same as their transversal to you at all times. So for example, you'll see really bad battleship pilots, for example, like orbiting a target, And there's like never any reason for a battleship to ever do that.
And it's
And
very important to keep in mind that your guns are not actually in the game engine. They're not actually attached to your ship. They're just floating in the air right next to you, and that means if your ship is turning, your gun isn't turning. Like that's why like orbiting something actually disrupts your own tracking. Otherwise, if they were attached to your ship, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, and then the other thing about tracking that needs to be brought up is, of course, signature and speed. Obviously, the smaller signature you have, using links, drugs, implants, or ship bonuses like those found on assault frigates and interceptors, all help a lot. And then, of course, what kind of prop mod you're using. Dead Space mods give you less of a % increase of signature on an MWD than like a Tech 2. Like a Tech 2 increases your signature by 500%, so you're easier to hit. Or afterburners are even better because you get no signature increase and then just a large speed boost, which is nice.
You mentioned.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, you mentioned a lot of talk about battleships. Now, why are you talking about a battleship in terms of like the turret signature?
I'm talking about a battleship because they are the easiest ship, and if you're in a tackle or a smaller ship, they're the easiest ship for you to see if you're flying transversal correctly or not. Because if a battleship hits you, you've fucked up really badly, or the battleship pilot is very good and they know how to fly their ship. Most cases, most pilots in EVE, probably upwards of 95% of pilots in EVE are terrible at PvP and terrible at flying their ships, so if you get hit by a battleship, it's basically your fault. Unless, of course, you're in a fleet fight. I'm talking like small gang only here. You know, if you get like just wrecking shots off of like an arty tornado, just like Alphas do, that's completely your fault. Basically, allowing yourself to be hit by that.
And so a lot of that, just for people who aren't aware, so there's 3 classes of turrets: frigate sized, cruiser sized, and battleship sized. Each. Large, yeah, small, medium, large. And each one of them has an actual signature size of the turret. And based on that, the actual signature size of the turret does have a very significant impact on tracking. So a battleship gun, that when you press the show info, if a battleship gun, a cruiser gun, and frigate gun all have the same tracking, it doesn't actually equate that way. The way EVE works is because of the signature sizes. A frigate gun will still track infinitely higher, well, not infinitely, but like much higher than, say, a battleship, even if it says it has the same tracking. Sorry to cut in there.
No, you're completely correct. And I apologize, Horde members. I don't know how new or how old you are. I'm just kind of just speaking off the cuff. So if you have any questions or anything, just please feel free to ask, interrupt. It's totally cool.
You can like type them as well, like in Fleet Chat or in Mumble. If you have questions, we can like relay them.
But yeah, that's a good point to make.
If you're so shy.
There's an interesting thing to note about transversal as well. That feathering. Okay. So the question came up of what is feathering. So first of all, I call it that because like your ship kind of like when you turn really sharp, it kind of like when it goes on its side, like it like arcs over on its side. I'm sure you've all seen your ships turn. But if you keep holding a turn, it kind of like will like float up and down on its side, and I kind of look like a feather like falling like through the wind. But anyway, that technique can only really be used in a frigate, and it can only really be used in a frigate that is very fast, or that has a high agility. So if you put nanofibers on your frigates, or you're flying a very agile frigate like a Daredevil or a Dramiel, something like that. But basically, what feathering is it's in dogfighting terms in real life, it's called a defensive spiral. But what you do is you basically start spiraling your ship down. So you basically make like a corkscrew down. So like if you're like outlining of a screw, you're just going down that, and you just keep going down in that screw pattern. And the reason why that technique is very useful is, again, think of this thought experiment with me. Imagine that there's a blob of ships in a ball, okay? And I start corkscrewing down below them. All right. So when I'm corkscrewing, I'm essentially orbiting below them on the same plane, except I'm just increasing my distance down. So I'm increasing my distance away from them, which will increase my transversal, makes me harder to hit. And I'm also doing it in a 90-degree angle because I'm circling around them. So if you watch my light tackle video, you'll be able to see kind of the diagram basically that outlines that, but it increases my tracking to the gang immensely. So it makes my slicer extremely difficult to hit by ships that are sitting up in this blob trying to shoot down at me as I'm making corkscrew. You can make a corkscrew any direction. You can make it to the side, you can make it straight up, you can make it at an angle, any direction. But that type of flying where you're making this you're basically just like making a circle in space, it's very difficult for them to hit you because your ship at all times is never pointing anywhere near the enemy. It's always pointing, you know, completely somewhere else, or where you're heading. So that's the first part of why that technique is really good, because it allows you to, as a frigate, to stay on the grid and engage other frigates, even though they might have an entire fleet shooting at you the entire time. You can still get kills, and that's what some of my videos show when I'm flying my slicer in like my Scorchlight videos. But the second aspect of why feathering is really important, and now that people are starting to learn it, it's becoming less effective, but I had abused it for a while, so I figured I should let everyone else know about it, is the fact that when you're going around in this arc, in this spiral, this corkscrew downward, all the other frigates that are trying to catch you and kill you, and this only works in kiting frigates, mind you, are all going to click approach, and that's really the key here. Because the Eve AI, when you tell your ship to click approach, it starts approaching me, okay? And most frigates do not fit 2 nanos to their ship. And the ones that do don't know how to manually pilot their ship very well. So when they click approach on my ship, they will start approaching me, and then they'll start falling into this arc, my downward spiral arc. The thing is, though, is that they're not, because of the AI, they're doing something called lag pursuit. So here, let me just pull up an image of that. Give me one sec.
Basic idea of this is
There you go. If you guys want to click on that. But it shows lead, pure, and lag pursuit. So once you guys had that brought up, you'll be able to understand. But like, if you want to catch a target that's flying in a circle or flying in an arc away from you, and you want to like gain ground on it, using lead pursuit is the most effective way to do that, because you're cutting off their angles, and the distance that you have to travel is shorter than the distance that they have to travel, so you can catch them quickly. Pure pursuit, again, not as efficient as lead pursuit, but you know, that's what most people think, that when you click approach on a ship, what actually happens, but that's actually not the case. When you click approach with the 1 second server polling ticks, and of course the fact that my slicer with double nanos is generally more agile than the frigates trying to catch it, what happens is you go into lag pursuit. And when you go into lag pursuit, you're never gaining angles on me, which means that even though your ship may be faster than a straight line, the Eve AI computer is causing your ship to travel a larger diameter corkscrew, which means you're traveling more space. Like you have to travel a larger space around the outside of the curve than I do on the inside of the curve, and you never catch me. That's the second portion of why feathering is really nice, because even ships that have like 2 ODIs and they're interceptors with an MWD, they can't catch me. And if they can catch me, they're gaining ground at such a slow pace because of the marginal increase of like the huge amount of speed you need to make up for the amount of extra space they have to travel, that I can kill them quite easily before they get on top of me. And again, if you watch the Scorchlight videos, you can probably see that happen a few times. And then the third reason why feathering is really nice in a slicer is because when you start on this arc, and these guys are falling into your arc path, like when they get like probably 15 to 20 kilometers away from you and they're falling into this lag pursuit, you'll notice how they just sit in lag pursuit. They're all approaching my slicer and they're sitting in lag. And transversal drops not to 0, but very, very low at that point, because they're all clicking on my ship and they're all falling in my arc. And I just hold the same arc path. I don't go wider or shorter or like do a loop-de-loop or anything else. I'm just flying in that same curve. And once they fall into this curve with me, their transversal is essentially 0, and then my slicer at that point at 24 to 25 kilometers just hits wrecking shots on them. So that's kind of feathering in a nutshell. It just abuses the fact that people don't know how to fly their ship and they click approach and they're bad pilots.
in that circumstance where they're stuck in lag pursuit, isn't their transversal the same to you though? So if they have similar range weapons, they can hit you though, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. That's absolutely correct. It's just not many people fly slicers, and the people that do fly them fit them poorly, and yeah. Or rail comets.
How do you decide how big of an angle to use for corkscrewing so that you get enough transversal but don't slow down too much?
So that actually comes with a lot of practice, and I still make mistakes doing that. But generally, I just visually look at the ships that I'm fighting. And you can also look at your speedo and to see how fast you're going. Generally, if you can keep your speedometer at around 70 to 75% of the speed going down in the arc, it is better for you. The best way to control that is how aggressive you are at pointing your ship straight down. Obviously, if you're flying straight down, you can be going at 100% speed, but the second you start, making an arc a little bit higher than that, your speed's going to decrease a little bit. So you can control your speed by making a steeper arc down to burning straight down, or going up to the side a little bit more. That's generally how I look at it. It's really counterintuitive. I should rephrase that. It's not very intuitive because unless you watch my videos, there's no way I can really explain it to you. But I generally try and keep the speedo at around 70 to 75%, and I watch my target a lot just to see if they're gaining ground on me, if they're not gaining ground on me, if I'm getting good hits or not. I'm just taking all those things into account. So I don't have like any formula or any rule set that you should follow. Apologies.
Do you ever orbit?
No. I will never ever orbit, really. I'm trying to think of a situation where I would consider orbiting.
You get lazy?
Yes, if I'm feeling lazy or if I'm FCing or, because manual piloting takes a whole nother level of situational awareness to have, and it's better to not manually pilot and position your ship effectively than attempt to manually pilot and do nothing. If that makes sense. I am trying to think of a situation where I would actually just straight up orbit. I guess if I was being cocky, or if the ship or if the kill was guaranteed, or if I knew I could manually or regular orbit and get away with it, then I would do it and I wouldn't care. But in like a real high stress, high fighting environment, I definitely would not manually orbit. Just click orbit. That's just me though. Just because there's too many things that are out of your command, because Eve can make your ship literally stop, turn around, fly out to your orbit distance, and then start orbiting. And if you do that with an MWD, you have a 500% signature increase, and you like basically stop your ship below 1K a second in a frigate, you're just going to get one shot by about a million things.
One of the biggest reasons that you actually don't want to click orbit, especially in fleet fights, is if you orbit somebody that's kind of out on the edge and you're orbiting at 20, your AI has a very good chance of sending your interceptor screaming into the enemy fleet, which isn't a good thing.
It's true, but it also has to be passed along that manual piloting is not many people can do it very well. Not many people can do it at all. Certainly not in a combat situation. It's better to position your ship to know what's going on, to have your point and prop and damage on the right targets and whatever else, than it is to try to manually pilot. Because if you manually pilot and keep your ship alive and end up doing nothing, then what good are you?
Yeah, it's very
so it takes practice.
To get down, but yeah, it does take a lot of practice.
But the only other situation where manual piloting really comes into play, where it can be like broken as all hell, is really, really tight in scram web range. Assuming, hypothetically, let's hypothetically say that you and your target are both MWD ships with scrams only, and you get scrams on each other. Or like one of you has a long point and the other guy is a scram. And anyway, long story short, you're scrammed and you're fighting with this guy. You can manually orbit your ship sub 500 meters. This takes a little bit of practice, but if you can learn how to do it, it's so broken. But super, super close in ranges, like within scram range, you can manually orbit your ship, never click orbit, manually orbit, and you can do it so close to their ship that I have, and I am not making this up, I have out-tracked Omens with an Orthrus sitting at 0. They've never hit me once. I have out-tracked a Vagabond in a Cerberus. where the Vagabond just doesn't even hit me, or if he does, it's just like glancing blows off of. Well, he was probably loaded with hail, which is a horrible ammo type, but even still, the fact that you can do those kind of things, it's really funny. So manual piloting is a very powerful tool to learn. You just have to know when to employ it, and it's a skill that I think is a secondary skill for most people, because learning ships, learning ranges, learning positioning, learning the battlefield, I think should come first. Situational awareness, at least.
Do you
And
ever
quick
use
note here.
navigation shortcuts for up, down, left, right, things like that, or do you just pilot with the mouse?
Oh, you mean like WASD?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I tried that. I actually hooked up WASD to my my flight simulator like flight stick, like my really nice one, just to like jokingly play Eve with a joystick, and it just doesn't work. It can't work. Not the way that they have it implemented, because the polling rate is 1 second. That's a problem. And then number two, it depends on how fast you're clicking your keys, and it's really annoying. Because if you think about it, your right hand controls your camera, which you need to be moving around all the time because you're fighting in 3D space, and you need to keep an eye on where everything is and be looking at things. So you have that going on with the right hand for the mouse. Or let me rephrase, some of you might be left-handed. So you have one hand completely dealing with the mouse, clicking things on screen, all of that. And the problem with WASD that I found is when you're flying a ship with WASD, it doesn't move the camera as well in any way. So you have to use your right hand to keep your camera positioned appropriately to use WASD. Otherwise, if you don't, you get kind of fucked up. And I think that's what kills it for me, because you then have to do two hands.
I personally like having the precise X, Y, Z direction choice as well. It makes it a lot easier than just trying to time when to stop.
Yeah, I just don't think you can do it, because you have your left hand dealing with all your modules and all your shortcut keys and your drones and your broadcasts and shit like that, and then your right hand has to move the camera while it also moves your ship, and it also has to click on things. From my point of view, I just cannot make it work. Maybe there's some savant out there that can do it, but I am not that man.
Just a little quick note about manual piloting here. I took some time and learned how to manual pilot, and once I got good at it, I became a lot better at flying interceptors. Your survivability increases so much when you figure out how to read the battlefield.
Has everyone here watched my light tackle video?
Yes. I doubt it.
Several times.
I'll link it. I think it's something that some of you might like, some of you might not like. That's okay. Let me just pull it up here.
It's definitely an interesting video.
Any tips on how to keep that cone formation on the tackle? Because it's actually fairly hard, at least if you target somewhat fast.
What do you mean? You mean that cone underneath them, that circle underneath them?
Yeah.
Tips for keeping it there, or keep flying in that?
Yeah, because I was playing around with some of the other guys outside the station, and I towel war for a second, and it's so hard to keep him within 20 kilometers without either zooming by him or.
Yeah, it comes with practice. Honestly, there is no formula or technique other than the fact that it's a lot of intuition, and I'm sorry that that's not helpful when I say that, and probably frustrating. But I don't know of any other way to try to tell you other than to watch examples of it and then just to practice it. Like, you can set up cans or go to an asteroid belt and just turn your MWD on and just fly through the asteroids really fast, circle around them perfectly, keep them at a certain range, and just practice doing that so you can get the feel of your ship. I'm not joking when I say that, just changing ship hulls, you can just feel the performance difference, even from frigates. At least I can. When I'm flying my slicer and then I switch to a succubus or something else, oh god, I can just feel these huge performance differences, especially during the manual piloting. So my guess is to pick one ship and just practice it for a while until you get to learn it. And as you fly more ships, you play the game more, you waste more of your life learning how to click around asteroid belts. You'll get way better at it.
Cool.
Sorry, I don't have anything.
I found a Job station which apparently have really nice collision models, and just practice flying through the different little spires and stuff that are all around there. That's what I did personally.
But yeah, that's like literally the only way I can think of to teach manual piloting. Or even if you really
practice.
Yeah, if you really want to get interesting with it and make it less boring, set up a course with just like random cones and just like zigzag through the cones, then come back and time each other to see how fast you can do it, assuming that your ships are roughly equal in speed and, you know, obviously don't have snakes and links or anything stupid. But I've done a few of that as well. It's kind of lame, but I don't know. I'm a nerd, so I like things like that.
I think that's interesting. I'll keep it in mind. I got a manual piloting class coming up in a few days, actually.
Yeah, so like races, or like just set up 2 cans and then, you know, circle around the 1 can and then come back, make a figure 8, or like a ship, whatever. So yeah, that's what I did. I don't know, the reason why I play Eve so much and the reason why I have like no life it all the time on this game is just because it's compared to all the other games that I've played. You know, I've played Super Smash Bros. Melee competitively, StarCraft Brood War, Halo 2. I even paid a semester of my college off of Halo 2 winnings, and then you know, I play League, which really doesn't count, but and then I play a lot of really hardcore flight simulators. Eve keeps me coming back all the time just because it's I don't know, it's just really deep. There's lots of depth to it.
It's complex.
What would you recommend for some of the really new guys? Do you have a certain ship? If they're wanting to learn, like, you know, pulling off tackle from enemy gangs and that sort of thing, what's a good ship to start with and a good setup for it?
To be a tackle pilot?
Yeah.
So I don't want to like piss off any Horde leadership, but I don't think that new players are good tackle pilots. I don't think they should be put in tackle. I think it's a waste of their role, or a waste of their ability. Me personally, that's what I believe, because new players have not very good SP, which SP isn't a huge barrier to being useful, but in the case of light tackle, it can be, because Tech 1 frigates with an MWD are fairly easy to hit when you think of their counterparts of the interceptors. So that's a problem. The second is to fly tackle effectively, especially currently in this day and age of Eve, you really have to know what you're doing to be a good tackle pilot. And a good interceptor pilot is a fucking terror. I think that new players, if they want to be useful, or if they really want to try in a tackle role, even after hearing all of that, I think that you should train for whatever interceptor or whatever types of frigates you like. So if you like Galente, Fed Comet is a wonderful ship to go PvP in, but at the same time you have the Ares, which is okay. And then you also have the Atron, which is also nice. Rail Atron is a great ship. If you are an Amar pilot, like myself, I love Amar ships. Executioner is incredible, and then you can always fly the Slicer, which I love. And then, of course, you have the Minotaur, which have the Claw and the Stiletto for the interceptors. But I really like the Slasher. The Slasher is for Tech 1 frigates, really nice. And then lastly would be the Caldari. And Caldari have a wonderful bunch of like brawling ships. The Kestrel, Rocket Kestrel, Merlin, all great. Condor for like kitey light missile shit, but I don't like it that much. And then for faction, the Hookbill is good, and the Garmer is a little pricey, and people are afraid of it, even though it's not very good. But those are kind of the ways to go. And of course, if you're going the interceptor route with the Caldari, you have the Crow and the Raptor, and the Crow is a nice interceptor because of the 4 mids, which is always very, very nice to have. But I guess that's my kind of take on it. I guess if you're learning to do tackle, those are the ships that I would look into. Let's see. I'm looking at any other questions that have been given.
Actually, I do have a weird question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you prefer the Garmer or the Stiletto?
Stiletto. I don't like the Garmer. It's not very good. I mean, okay. Fully snake linked with like if all the money that you can pour at ships and stuff these days, yes, the Garmer's incredible. But barring that, the Stiletto is better in every way.
And why do you think that is?
And why do I what?
Why do you believe that to be the case?
So the Garmer doesn't have a SIG reduction bonus, which makes its survivability much less. It does have a nice range on its long point, but it doesn't, I don't think, make up for the fact that its signature is much, much larger than that of like if you put the same amount of money in like a stiletto. If you are saying that the Garmer is a good anti-frigate ship, like a good frigate PvPer, I disagree there again as well, because the Garmer actually has really abysmal DPS, and a Rail Comet or a Slicer will just tear it apart. Unless the Garmer is, again, like, put like billions of ISK into it, but if you're going to do that, then give the other frigate the same amount of money, and I think it still loses. Yeah, I just don't like it that much. Like a tackle stiletto does its job.
I need help.
Need help? What?
Don't worry about it. I'm fucked.
Okay. But I don't know, I guess that's my kind of thoughts on it. I think the stiletto is just a better overall. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Garmer is like 70k point range is really nice, but you have to be willing to put in all that money, which I don't think is always worth.
We have a Cinnable fleet in Saranen.
Alright, very nice. Could you be in the Saranen standing?
Yeah, I'm dead
check
though.
Your log, are they artillery?
We're in the middle of a class, guys. If you could go to the standing.
As far as the questions that were asked,
class with Chessur. If you're out and about in Saranen, hop in the Saranen standing comms.
Just getting to some of the questions. Chessur, what are snakes? Snakes are, sorry, I'm not explaining things for newer players. So for super new players, implants, things that go in your head that make your attributes different. There are certain implant grades, like you probably hear people say like +1s, +2s, +3s, +4s, and +5s. There's also pirate implants. Snakes are a type of implant that just increases your base speed. So if you have a full set of snakes in, your ships will go much, much faster than people that don't. There are implants that do many different things. Like Halo implants reduce your signature. Edge implants are, I run those a lot. Edge implants are implants that reduce the side effect of drugs from happening, and then drugs again are attributes or things that you can take that increase your attributes even further on your ship. That's basically what that is. And then let's see, next question is, what improvements could CCP make to the UI to help learn manual piloting? I honestly think if they added color into the UI, I think that'd be a lot better. If you could have, like when you selected a ship, that line, it's normally white on the tactical overlay, but if it could be like green for like a really, really high radial velocity and yellow for marginal and then red for like almost 0, I think that would help people understand it a little bit more.
Oh, Goblins is really on the ping spamming. What the fuck?
Man, gotta kill that Cinnaball fleet. The Cinnaball fleet's like a perfect example, if they are artillery, a perfect example of transversal control, because the Cinnaballs are really fast, so they're going to burn away at a high rate of speed. And to catch them, you need to burn away at a high rate of speed too, but you need to do an arc, which will be difficult because Cinnaballs are very quick. And if you make a mistake, you will be insta-blown up by artillery.
It looks like they're auto-cannon for it.
Let's see, next, what is my slicer fit? I will link it for you, but you can find all of my slicer fittings in my videos, which I think I linked already, but I will grab it. Alright, I just posted my slicer in fleet. That's my beam slicer. To fit my pulse, or the pulse slicer, just trade the beams and just put pulse. And it's basically the same thing. You just switch out pulse or beam. It's the same fit either way. But that's what I fly. That fit is not very newbie friendly in the fact that if you make a mistake, you will die. It has little to no tank. It has enough to get what it needs done, but it doesn't really allow for much mistakes. But it's a really powerful ship if you can learn how to fly it correctly, at least in my experience. But if you want to learn how to manual pilot, if you want to learn how to PvP, like really like kite well, that is one of the best ships to do it in for sure. Rail Comet is also very good as well.
Yeah, oh, and Chessur, real quick here. Just for the new guys, that fit is old and has a limited micro warp drive, you're going to want to use a compact micro warp drive in that spot, unless you're going for the CPU implant in which you can run Enduring micro warp drive, which I highly recommend.
Yeah, but, thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, quick question here as to...
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you at all.
You cut out.
Let's say you're just starting out and you want to have a little bit more buffer room to play around. Would you object to dropping a heatsink for damage control? You do less DPS, but it makes it so that you don't insta-die if you get caught.
Interesting question. The thing is, the slicer isn't helpless when it's caught. The only ship that can get under a slicer's guns is another ship that has scram and web, or a scram and an AB. So unless the ship is running that, even if you get scrammed in a slicer, you can still kill someone coming at you, even if you have made a mistake, assuming it's like a 1v1. And that
let's say it's a 1v30.
It's a 1v30. I wouldn't suggest trying to fly a 1v30 as a new pilot, but the damage control is going to make your DPS a lot less. So those guys that come at you with those like joke Tech 1 Atrons that have like 2 overdrive injectors, you're not going to be able to 4-shot them anymore. But the damage control definitely increases your survivability, that's for sure. It gives you a lot more EHP, and it allows you to get on the repper easier and faster, because in my fit, if your armor goes down, you're basically dead because you have no structure. So, I mean, you bring up a really good point. I guess it's just a trade-off. And I'm not looking at it from a new player point of view. I guess it's difficult. I guess I would say go to CC, fit up that fit, and learn to fly it properly instead of gimping your damage, because the damage really helps you. But at the same time, survivability is also really nice, especially for new pilots if you have like warriors on you or something. So I think it's a good argument. Any other questions? Anything else you'd like me to explain?
There's one in here a little bit back out. Oh, wait, no, I answered that one. Sorry.
All good.
I have a question.
I think you did.
Yeah, go for it.
What's a good ship to learn in?
What's a good ship to learn in? Just depends on your interests. Like for me, I am a huge proponent of the slicer. Most of my friends like take out slicers like that just to have fun flying. We always have a blast flying them. But I love to kite, and those are some really cheap kiting frigates. Braille Atron, the Fed Comet, the Slicer, ships like that.
For the Horde people, CCP has sort of made it clear to at least PL and the CSM that they do intend to make it a lot more difficult, especially in fleet situations, for the orbiting F1 crowd to keep going.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's a long time coming, and because you are new guys, you actually don't really have a lot of the the inhibitions that a lot of players in EVE currently have.
You're not salty bitter vets.
Yeah, exactly. And you're gonna have, and being able to manually pilot is gonna help you immensely. So just a little note there.
Yeah, for new guys that are just joining EVE, it's an interesting simulator to play. Don't get caught up on SP, because SP up to a point really means nothing. As long as you can fly your frigate well, as long as you can fly your ship well, it means more than all the SP in the world. I promise you that.
I can testify to this point very, very hard. I played EVE for hardly 2 years, and after my first year, I was well known in EVE University as one of the best solo pilots in there.
Well, that's because no one. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to make yourself known, because like everyone talks about PvP, but you need people like him to go out there, like put your testicles or ovaries on the dashboard and be like, "Sup," and get experience that way.
No glory. No guts, no glory. Live by that rule, guys.
CC is really nice because you can spend 0 ISK and lose all your money and all your ships and come back the next day and do it again, and it doesn't mean anything. Because the money just gets regenerated and everything costs 1 ISK or 100 ISK, whatever.
Alternatively, you can do it on Duality right now, because apparently Brave is deploying their whole alliance there, so there's a lot of people to fight. on duality, and it's basically the same principle as singularity.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. When I'm going to be going and talking to CCP later this year, I'm definitely going to ask them about situations like that because, like, let's be honest here, fighting in EVE is lots of fun, and I think if people have more opportunities to do it, and if CCP would give us a server or something like that, I think that'd be great. But I think that's honestly, experience is the best way to learn. Period. Like going out and losing ships, and just reading or getting all the information you get your hands on. Or just basically at the end of the day, you just need to do something that's fun for you, and then you'll have the desire and the willingness to go out and do these things. So yeah, like when I first started, I flew stealth bombers solo in Wormhole, and that's all I did for like the first, I don't know, 6-7 months I played this game, just by myself, and it was very strange. But then I started getting into solo PvP because that captured my interest, and I don't know, just do what's fun for you. Don't always listen or only follow guidelines that other people tell you. You know, read about what you can do in EVE, or maybe what people haven't done or only done once. And if you find that fun, just pursue it. That'll keep you playing a lot longer.
So if you were, say, a Logi pilot and you really enjoyed flying Logi, how would you apply? Like what are some good ideas as someone who likes to manually pilot but also likes to fly Logi?
So Logi pilots have to be some of the best pilots in the fleet, period. At least I think so. Logi is, as far as flying, it's all just about transversal control, which is you look where the enemy fleet is and you make sure that you're 90 degrees away from them at all times, flying in a circle, and utilizing your broadcast well and getting the reps where that you need them. Is where I come from, which is solo small gang. We normally don't fly with Logi because we see it as scary, or we think people will be less hesitant to fight us if we bring Logi. So we hardly ever use it. But the type of Logi that I think is really potent that people underestimate is like Tech 1 Cruiser Logi. It's really good for its price, and for its cost, it's extremely effective. In my light tackle video, I think my entire light tackle video is me following around mostly light cruiser Logi supported by like 3 MOAs. It's like a 5-man, 6-man gang. And we're just flying like T1 shit. No links, no snakes, nothing expensive at all, and we're getting some really good fights.
Just for a sense of scale, one T1 Logic cruiser reps roughly 300 EHP per second on a decently resisted ship. Like 60% or less. Yeah.
I guess that would be my advice for aspiring Logi pilots, or anyone that likes Logi in general. At least from my point of view. Like again, I fly in small gang, small fleet, solo. So.
Oh, here's a good one that I think we can go over if you have a little bit of time.
I have as much time as you want.
All right. Go over the concept of E-War, I think, and its importance in small gang stuff.
So, E-War in general, going back to what I said earlier, how I don't think that new pilot should be in tackle, this is where I think they should be, which is E-War, and specifically E-War frigates. Because E-War, at first, flying it in larger fleets and some in some of the smaller fleets, you can be very comfortable flying E-War, and your piloting doesn't have to be spot on immediately, as long as you just follow a few basic steps. E-War is extremely powerful and extremely potent, and your ship will look very scary, as in people will be hesitant to fight you if you have E-War. So that's why you want to try and tone it down and make your E-War still look engageable. Good examples of that are bringing Tech 1 ships, or by using the frigates, or electronic attack frigates, which are the most OP pieces of shit in the game currently. They're amazing. E-War in and of itself, we'll go over that real quick. We have target painters and webs, long webs and long target painters, or bonus target painters, which are kind of useful, but only for certain fleets. Obviously, for flying with lots of high turret, large turret ships like battleships or Tech 3 battlecruisers, or if you have like large missiles or missiles in general that need to apply well, target painters and webs bonused become in great use and great handy. However, I don't fly with them that frequently. The next option for E-War that you have are newts, and newting is extremely potent, but the problem is the only ships that can do newting well are all notoriously scary, like curses, sentinels, Balgorns, stuff like that, or Armageddons. People will basically not want to fight you. They will never want to get near you because of the power that nuding brings. But tracking disruption comes along with nuding. That's the Amar side. Crucifiers, Tech 1 frigate, and Sentinels. Both very cheap, both very usable. But like a Crucifier, for example, can fit 3 TDs, sit at 150 kilometers, and just break 3 turret ships. Like with a Crucifier TD of tracking or optimal range, those turret ships will not be able to hit jack shit. Just to give you an example, a Curse, which has a bonus to tracking disruptors, just like the Crucifier and the Sentinel, which is the mini Curse, can sit at 150 kilometers with a full rack of TDs and a single optimal range TD. Can break your optimal range by like 90% almost. It's like 85 to 87%. So just to give you an idea, my Oracle with Scorch has like a max range of about like 80 or 90 with my Scorch. A single Curse TD puts me at like 10 kilometers with Scorch, 20 kilometers maybe. It just breaks ships. It's extremely potent, and it just is one module, and you can just stay at 150 kilometers and just sit out there like, you know, like mooning them. And there's nothing that they can do. In my DPS video that I released, there's actually, I think a Horde guy jumps in a Crucifier and actually breaks my Oracle from like 150 kilometers away. I literally can't do shit. You can see it on film. It's pretty funny. But DDs are very potent. The 2 other types of EWAR that I want to cover are jams out of the Kaldari. So Griffin, Kitsune, Blackbird, Falcon, Rook, and Scorpion. Widow as well. But jams in general, I don't ever use and I don't like them. And I don't like them for a few reasons. The first is that the general EVE populace finds them very scary. Like Falcons are very scary, and they will not want to engage you. So I don't use them firstly because of that reason. The second reason is because jams are only useful generally when you outnumber the enemy. And in my situation, I am never outnumbering the enemy, if ever. So I find very little use in that. And the third reason why I don't like jams is because they're very chance-based. A jam cycle can either land or it doesn't. And there is no rhyme or reason to it. It's just a roll of the dice. And I really hate that. It's not guaranteed, like a TD or a web or a target painter or a damp. So that's why I do not use jams. I hate them. Damps are the most overpowered thing in the game currently that people should know about or not know about, but damps are completely broken. They are beyond powerful. The Maulus, the Celestis, the Razu, Lachesis, all of them are terrifying, and the carries. And I fly with the carries almost all the time. They are terrifying ships because a single like Lachesis damp can turn your target ring range. If it's like 100 kilometers, a single range damp will put you to 20k. And your ship's just unflyable. There's no off jam cycle chance. You're just damped to 20k, and there's nothing you can do. You can fly around it kind of, but you know, a Celestis can do that too. And a Celestis has a range, and the Maulus can do it, and so can the carries. And you can just sit at like 70 to 80 kilometers and just spread your damps on an entire group of ships, and they just don't work anymore. And yeah, I have a lot of pilots that fly with me that they love flying support. They love flying carries. They love flying, Celestis. And I love having those ships in my fleet because they're so powerful. And not many people look at a carries or a Tech 1 Celestis or a Maulus and they see a dangerous ship, but in reality, it's one of the most potent like force multipliers that there are. They're really nice. So if I was a new player, or if I was leadership telling new players what to train into at first to learn the game, I would have them train into like Mauluses, Crucifiers, Celestises, Arbiters or Arbitrators for TDs, stuff like that. Does that answer your question, kind of?
That gives a much better overview, I think, of the utility of them, what they do.
Yeah, like damps in general are amazing. If you watch through some of my videos that I have on my YouTube channel, you can see the damp ships going to work, and we've killed like with 5 guys, we've killed entire gangs of people that have 5 Logi. So they have the same amount of Logi as we have ships in fleet, and we kill them because of A, their piloting is terrible, and B, our damp ships are really good, and they just damp down the Logi to where they can't even lock the guy we're shooting anymore, and we can kill him in time before he can get back into their 10k lock range to get reps. It's really hilarious because all of that's being done. All that's being done by a bastard in a frigate sitting like 80 kilometers away from them.
I've actually run a few MiG rooms, and I can't tell you how many times I've gone out and said, "Damn, we would have won if we had a carries."
Yeah. All good ships. All good ships. Like, you just gotta find, like I said earlier, you gotta find what you think is fun. I fly with some pilots that exclusively like to fly support ships. I fly with some pilots that exclusively like to fly tackle. I love to fly anti-support, like cruisers and like ships that hunt tackle. Like I love doing that. But yeah, you just gotta kind of find your niche. What's fun for you? And just like pass it along in case you don't know it already. The bigger is not always better. So I just got a question from Lilab as far as manually piloting and big mistakes that you can make. So E-War frigates in general, or E-War ships in general, unless you're in a small gang or situation like that, or unless you're flying with good pilots, really have no reason to be anywhere near the fight. So 50 to 60 kilometers, you can sit out there the entire day and be perfectly effective. The only big mistakes that you could make at that range would be clicking approach on like an RD Tornado or like a big battleship with lots of alpha that can hit you out at that range, or not moving with your MWD on, or just like control spacing and not moving at all. Those are basically the worst things that you can do as far as a piloting point of view is concerned. The reason why I think that new players should be in those ships is because the piloting isn't really that huge of a deal at those ranges. You have plenty of time to react and warp off, but you're going to learn different ship types, and you're going to have a chance to just look at battles unfold, look at like the little boxes and the ships move around the grid, and listen to the FC and what they're calling. And you're also going to learn ship types slowly because you're going to be damping ships that the FC wants you to put damps on, and it'll just come with time.
Also with dams or E-War in general, apart from tracking disruption, there's not really a wrong ship you can put E-War on. Like E-War is always effective, well, as long as you hit an enemy with it.
Yes and no. I mean, don't get me wrong, unbonus damps and TDs on a ship on Tranquility, I probably would never fit it. Unless it's like target painters on a stealth bomber. In a tournament situation, of course. That's much different though than Tranquility flying.
No, I mean, like if you were flying in an E-War frig, like you cannot, like even if you're just randomly assigning your modules on ships, they're still going to be effective in some form.
Yes and no. If you put a TD, a tracking disruptor, on a missile ship, and it happens to me all the time when I fight people, I literally just laugh because the tracking disruptor does absolutely nothing to my missile ship. Literally nothing. It does nothing. And you have to be a little careful, at least in that regard. If you're using damps, spreading them over ships that are not as high priority can maybe lose the fight. I know, like, a lot of times when like Hugins and Rapiers are on the grid, we have damps on them at all times, so that way they can't web us at 80k and kill us. And if you weren't webbing them, or if you weren't damping them appropriately, we would lose pilots because we're definitely inside of that range. So I definitely think that precise calling and application of E-War is important. And to say that there's no mistakes, just put it on whatever you see, is a really, really big mistake. Any other questions? Anything else? Anything else you'd like me to talk about, or anything else you'd like me to touch on?
Is there a tracking disrupt or solid damp that works effectively against missile ships?
The only thing that you can do against a missile ship is to damp it or jam it. You can damp it down to nothing, and when you do that, its only option is to switch to FOF missiles, which are kind of broken right now in Tranquility, and they don't work very well. And also, rarely pilots ever carry them. And then, of course, jamming. But again, they can switch to FOF missiles, but not many people carry them. And FOF missiles are kind of broken and not working well, so it doesn't really matter. That's how you break missile ships. That's why I said earlier that why damps are the most OP thing in the game, because it doesn't matter what ship. It almost doesn't matter what ship you put a damp on, but it's going to have the same effect, and that's lowering targeting range. Obviously, lowering targeting range on a Hugin is much more important than on like a Deimos when you're in a fight, so you want to apply the damps appropriately, but the damps are effective against basically everything.
So you did. I am curious. What about target painters to you? How would
Painters.
you? Yeah.
So painters are really only useful in 2 or 3 situations in the game. The first is if you're flying with ships that have difficult time applying their DPS. So hypothetically, if you're flying with battleships or using battleship class weapons or dreadnoughts or any like capital size guns, that's when target painters are really nice. Missiles. In this current meta, heavy missiles are completely pointless and useless. So they're not really used that much. Cruise missiles are okay. That's where a target painter would be useful. If you're flying with like a stealth bomber groups, target painter is of course very useful. If you're flying with like oracles or other like longer range, kiting DPS ships, target painters are great then too because it'll just help with their tracking immensely. But other than those situations, I wouldn't just bring them on a normal roam because you just don't need them.
Having said that, yeah, if you do start getting target painted as a frig against, say a battleship group or a, I don't know, a clerical group or something, would you still? Because it obviously doesn't slow your speed or anything, but would you still maintain? Would you be on grid to?
So, it really depends on the situation. There's a huge gang of ships and they're all priming me. I can see the yellow boxes and I can see the red boxes on my overview. It doesn't matter if they have a target painter or not, and I'm in a frigate. I need to get off the fucking field if they can hit me. If they can't hit me, then I'm just gonna laugh and stay on anyway. But that's just it's a really broad question. But in general, if you're in a frigate and you notice an entire enemy gang starting to yellow box you and lock you, and some of them start shooting you, yes, I would get off the field immediately, or ensure that you have pulled enough range to where they can no longer hit you, because you will die.
Even if the whole gang isn't boxing you yet, a target painter usually signalizes some sort of intent to shoot you at some point.
Maybe. Could also be a mistake. Just watch.
Or it could just be somebody whoring on kill mails, because target painters are awesome for that.
Yes,
seriously, they're the best.
Yes, that's a thought. No, that's a really broad question. I don't have a good answer because it's situational. But
before I go, I do have one kind of a personal question. When we killed your Balgorn, what kind of implants did you have in your head?
Full HG snakes.
Okay.
Because that Balgorn's really fucking slow.
Yeah, we kind of figured. We were just like, he ejected. This is different.
Yeah, no, I knew you guys had a Dictor, and I was like, well, the Balgorn's gone. I was flying with the MiG roam, which I promised myself I would never do, which is bring the Balgorn out on a MiG roam, and I did anyway because of hubris, and paid for it.
I will tell you this: we acted completely independent of Horde. We were just really lucky because we wanted to kill you, right? But we were like, oh shit, we don't want to spook him or anything, so we got really lucky, and that Horde decided to try and fight you.
Yeah, we were just about to form a decent fleet to fight.
God damn it! I needed good footage too. Like you were just sending me frigates, and it was like me and an Omen Navy issue, and frigates against the Balgorn, and an Omen Navy isn't going to end well.
Hey, Chessur.
Yo.
This is a really personal question, but feel free not to answer if it's too triggering. But what's your favorite Pokemon?
My favorite Pokemon?
Yeah.
Ooh. We're talking original 150?
What the fuck else would we be talking about?
Okay, sorry. I didn't know how old school we're talking here. Probably on the original 150. Can I say my top 3 or no?
Just fucking do it! Fuck!
Jesus Christ. Okay, I really like Pidgeot. I'm a big fan of what the fuck is that guy's name? 1 minute. I have the image in my mind.
What does it look like?
Slowbro. That's who it was. And then the other one I liked was Jolteon.
Cool. 2 good kiting choices there.
Indeed.
Slowbro kind of out of the blue.
Slowbro's so legit. He just sits there and just scratches himself. He just.
So was it Pidgeot or Pidgeotto?
Pidgeot.
Okay. Good answer. That's a pretty good answer.
Needs more psychic type.
I mean, yeah. Pidgeot is pretty. Their their agility is pretty high, so I think that fits with your
Indeed.
personality pretty well.
Obviously, if I was going to make like an actual competitive team, none of those. Maybe Slowbro would be on it, but the other two certainly not.
Needs
So-
more Magikarp.
I don't know, man.
Favorite Magic
But
card?
is Pidgeot like your spirit Pokemon?
I don't know. I've never actually taken a Spirit Pokemon test.
I mean, it's something you kind of just know. You don't have to take a test for it, dog.
I'm trying to think of what my spirit animal would be. I took a spirit animal test actually a few days ago, and I got a butterfly. So,
Wow, that's pretty gay.
Yeah.
Float like a butterfly, sing like a bee is what I got from it.
Indeed.
More like float like a butterfree, sting like a bee drill.
Correct.
I guess that could work. That could definitely work.
Well, anyway, this is another random question that kind of fits. But saying that you like the complexity of EVE, I was wondering what your opinion on Magic the Gathering was.
So I actually have never really gotten into any trading card games ever. The most I've played Magic is when I used to be a lifeguard, I used to watch every single lifeguard at my at the place that I lifeguarded for in the inner city. Everyone played Magic, like the girls, the guys, everybody. And I generally played a water deck, but I only played like a few games with it, and then I gave it to my friend eventually. I don't know much about it, unfortunately. But my opinion on card games in general, I don't really have much of an opinion, just because I don't know enough to have an opinion, if that makes sense.
I get it.
My favorite,
it.
My favorite Magic the Gathering card is probably, There's what's the hyena called?
Oh yeah, the hyena fucking card from Magic.
Yeah.
Shut the
There's
fuck up. There's like a
13,000.
million fucking cards.
Yeah.
No.
It's called like it's like the desert hyena or something. I just really like the art on it. Even I think it's like I think it's like a I forget what I don't even know what type it is. I don't know if it's fire. I think it might be fire. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I know.
Sounds like Slash Panther. But anyways, yeah, this is coming from somebody who took a test to prove his competency in the rules of the game. If you like complexity, I think you get into it. Don't get into it. You'll lose. You'll lose a lot of money.
Dude, I can hear your neck beard growing from here right now.
That's brutal. The best thing that I know about Magic is there is this gentleman, and I'm going to call him a gentleman because his hilarity.
Did he pick his fedora?
No. He went to a Magic the Gathering convention, and then he sat down with like his arms folded in prayer and just took pictures of people's ass cracks.
Dude,
and,
you mean
literally
like the #1 fucking Reddit of all time?
Yes. Literally the best fucking shit ever. That man should be given Magic awards because he put Magic the Gathering on the fucking map. Love it. Fucking love it.
Did he map the dark side of the moon?
Indeed he did.
Oh yeah.
If I may ask a question of a similarly serious nature, in solo PvP, usually like sub-cruiser engagements, what do you look for before you engage? Because I find that for me in solo PvP, it's surviving the first couple seconds that counts the most.
Right. So what do I look for when I'm PvP? I look for kills, obviously, and then what I think I can push the limit to. Obviously, your mileage will vary depending on how comfortable you are, but unless there is like a ship that I know I just can't outplay, I will probably engage because I assume that I'm better than you, and I assume that I'm going to wipe the floor with you, so I'm going to take the fight. As arrogant as that sounds, that's how you need to be in PvP. You need to be like, I'm going to turn this fight into a rape, and I'm going to kill you. So unless there's like, for example, like a Kitsune and 3 Garmers, like that's a fight I wouldn't take. I've taken Sentinel, Garmer, Slicer versus Slicer, and I've won because I could outplay the Sentinel, and the Garmers because they're bad and they just click approach my Slicer and just got like 3 shot. But like, I guess it just depends on how much are you comfortable, how much can you push the limit, you know?
So lose a bunch of Tech 1 frigs. Then what do you do wrong?
Yes and no. I really hate that advice. I hate that go fit up a bunch of ships and lose them. Like, no, that's not how you learn. That's not how you learn. You learn by reading. You learn by contemplating, you learn by watching videos, you learn by thinking, and then you go and apply that. And then I suggest frapsing your fights and watching them over to see where you went wrong, and so you can learn from it. And you're also going to spend less ISK because you didn't just fit up 20 shit frigates and then go get some 20 shit fights and basically, you know, learn, hey, look, I died.
You can watch the same fight again 20 times and learn just as much.
Pretty much.
If not more.
That's my suggestion.
Do you
Like
have any,
people,
I agree.
like Reddit in general, and the vast majority of information that you find out of Eve. See, this is the problem with Eve. Eve is played, because it's a sandbox, it's played in many different ways by many different people, and there's no ranking system. Like kill board stats mean nothing when they mean something, but very rarely do kill boards tell you if that person's a good PvP or not, unless you like really look into their kill board. And a lot of the information that you hear, or that is touted around as these like one-liners, like fit up 20 frigates, bullshit, is actually really bad advice. And that's I think the biggest problem for new players in Eve is learning to distinguish the bad advice from the good advice, which is very difficult to do because you don't know the game, you don't know anything really. And that's why I suggest reading blogs, I suggest watching videos and learning things yourself and as you go, and going to people that have a reputation in the community. So like Gorski Car's blog posts, Gorski Car's blog in general, anything written by Bob Shaftos, those people have lots of experience and they're very good. But some random Reddit thread by some random guy who, you know, it's...
Or like the comments, like a lot of people try giving comments like, oh, hey, yeah, it's easy. Just fucking go fit out 20 rifters and go blow them up and you'll be like fucking a god by the end of the... No,
exactly.
You're not. You're not gonna learn shit unless you're trying to.
It's completely wrong.
As far as like the fact checking shit, like that's I guess one of the nice things with the way Horde's set up. Not to toot our own horns, but I mean I'm fucking tooting the shit out of it right now. Is like with like lots of more experienced people around here. Like if somebody says something like blatantly wrong, it usually gets called out. Like usually in a nice way, but I mean it will generally get corrected pretty quickly, which is nice. So there's not like a whole lot of false information floating around.
Yeah, I think that's good, and that's a problem that I think that plagues a lot of Eve. Is a lot of people are stuck in this like moray of their like corp or alliance or whatever, and they have this lens of what Eve is, and it's just so wrong, and it ruins the experience, I think, because Eve is not really a game; it's more of a simulator, and you get in when you put out, kind of.
While we're on the topic of bad advice, stay away from the PvE section on the E forums. You don't want to see that cancer, please.
Stay away from Reddit mostly as well. Reddit's pretty bad. I get downvoted to hell and back all the time every time I post on Reddit.
What are you talking about? My 101 karma are so good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've posted my fair share of things and gotten downvoted to hell because I knew what the hell I was talking about with solo.
Oh yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, it's absolutely hilarious.
But yeah. Oh, see, that's the ultimate question. Toss, what forums should you use? And I don't really have a great answer for you, just because there is no really solid place where only good people that are competent post. You have Fail Heap Challenge, which is filled with the bitterest, saltiest bitter vets that ever existed, but there are some people there that do know what they're talking about, and their PvP section has some theory on ships and fittings of ships, of every single ship in the game, that if you want to learn about a ship in general, read through it, read what they're fitting, read what they're talking about, read what they're posting in there, and I think that's a better place to start. The forums are pretty much dead now, but a lot of what they have in there still stands. Reddit is a cancerous shithole, and you only see me posting on there to try and build publicity and or to try and sway public opinion. EVO forums are in general complete shithole because let's see, the majority of people that post there are again Care Bears or like Spurg Lords, and do not listen to the vast majority of what you see in like the Warfare and Tactics or PvP or anything like that, because it's all completely wrong. Battle Clinic is a little better, But if I was going to take or tell you where to go, and this still isn't the best, but it's a good place to start, it would probably be Fail Heap Challenge, their PvP section. And then for blogs and everything, definitely read anything by Gorski Carr, Bob Shaftos. Yeah.
Believe it or not, the Eve Uni PvP forum isn't that bad.
I don't know how Eve Uni is, but I've ran into them in the past in game, and I really got a bad taste in my mouth over their leadership. I have nothing against the average Lion Eve Uni member at all. I personally just think that it's a shame.
This is coming from a former uni dude. I know the leadership can be kind of shit times, but the forum itself actually is populated by active people from PL, Nully, and a lot of other big alliances that know their shit pretty well.
Right. I mean, pull from different sources. Talk to people who legitimately are good, not just people that have nice titles behind their names, like Grand Sky Marshal or Main FC Tactical Division Alpha 1 Black Omega 9. Yeah, people that have that, no.
I joke that the more titles they have, the less they know.
But anyway.
Well, thank you, Chessur. That was a really good response, actually. I'm going to check into Fail Heap Challenge. I knew it existed, but I didn't know they had a good PvP section.
I'm telling you to look in the fittings, really. Like, some of their fittings aren't terrible, and as much ire as Wolf Krendraven gets, that man's obsession with maxed out link snaked numbers and EFT is admirable to at least go after, but he gets a little foamy at the mouth about it. Just keep in mind, you know what you're doing, you know what you're looking at. You can find good information there, but realize that it's coming from that crowd. For example, if you watch Fox News, you can find information there, but you have to know where that information's coming from, which is Fox News. You know how you can make that distinction. Pulling from different places will help.
How far out's your next video, Chessur?
Not that far, actually. I just had 2 slicers 3D printed, and I've put them on dowels so that way I can do pre-flight tactics with my ships on sticks like they do in real life, and I'm going to goddamn explain transversal velocity and radial velocity and all of that shit and how to fly your damn ship manually that way.
Part 1. A mommy slicer and a daddy slicer love each other very much.
Exactly. The daddy slicer spends a lot of money to bring mommy slicer to dinner, a nice movie, maybe bring her out to the harbor, bring her on a sailboat with Christmas lights, and then on the sailboat they have iced champagne and have a little bit of beluga caviar, and then after that, mommy slicer gives him a peck on the cheek and says she's feeling too bloated and goes to bed.
Well, you got to play the Top Gun theme in the background.
I went into the bitch having to get child support in the mail every month or so.
Indeed. Nah, I'm joking. But I don't know what theme I'm gonna have yet, but it's gonna be pretty funny. I've got my flight suit. I'm gonna have my aviators on. It's gonna be a fucking comedy joke. You guys will love it.
Gotta have them sound effects, yo.
Damn right. I think I even convinced my my better half to make an appearance, and she might come on in her black leather and the aviators. Gotta be all cool.
Better have Danger Zone playing in the background.
Yo, so I stepped away for 2 minutes there, and I came back to black leather. What's going on, guys?
We're getting kinky in here. You missed out.
Well, that's what happens.
But yeah, anyone have any other topics you'd like me to cover, or any other questions?
When you fit in...
Go ahead.
When you fit in Inti, do you usually try and go for a cap stable fit?
Cap stable fit question. So cap stability is something that PvE players foam at the mouth over, but in all honesty, cap stability is something I don't really even care about. If your ship is really nasty on cap, there are a few ways to fix it, either through drugs, cap booster, or flying properly. And those 3 things fix cap more than any other thing in the game. I generally never look for a cap stable fit because it means that I would sacrifice too much in other areas. So like what ship would you have in mind?
Like I'm just thinking like you're an interceptor, you have someone scrammed and pointed and you're running your MWD, like you're gonna run out of cap in like 30 seconds, like what do you do?
Oh, sure. So getting into scram range with an interceptor against a bigger ship is one of the most dangerous things you can do, and only do it if your FC really needs you to. But if you do go into close range with another ship and you have scram on, you need to turn off your MWD immediately, because at that range, you're not going to be able to get full speed while orbiting at 9 or 10k, and your SIG will be huge and you'll be easier to hit. So coast and turn the MWD off. That's the first step. The second step is that all interceptors should have a NOS, and the NOS on the interceptor is really strong because it has a roll bonus for the activation of propulsion jamming modules like a scram, and number one. And then number two, a NOS on a frigate plus its innate cap regen means that even under newts, you can easily sit there with just a scram on and hold it. So if you watch my light tackle video, I actually go over that in particular, and you can actually see me struggling to hold a hold point against a ship that's full newt fit, and I actually do hold it long enough for my team to come in and kill the guy. So I actually have that example in that video that I linked. But definitely Nosferatu is huge on small ships. Other than that, small ships do not need a cap booster really. My slicer is extremely cap unstable. Like everything running, I think you have 30 seconds, but that's with the rep. So you just need to be careful. But most small ships don't need them. The Omen Navy issue, another ship that I fly very frequently, is also cap unstable, but it has a medium cap booster just to fix the stability. Yeah, it's all about min-maxing your ship, and you can fly around cap, but take Mind Flood booster and have a small Nosferatu on all of your tackle ships, and that'll completely solve your problems and turn your MWD off. If your cap is like really bad, one last ditch effort you can do is turn off your MWD, like offline it. Your MWD hurts your cap regen and hurts your cap amount just by having it online on your ship. So if things get like extremely bad, you can offline the MWD. Of course, if you do that, you're dead in the water. But if you like really need to hold a scram for some reason, that can do it. My friend of mine, Gorski Carr, has a fight of him in a Tyrannus versus another Tyrannus, and he wins the fight because he turns his MWD off, offlines it, and his cap regen gets stronger and he gets more cap back and is able to out-rep his opponent and kill him with blasters. It was pretty dank.
That is really dank.
But like I said, turning off the MWD, like offlining it, is last-ditch effort. Normally you should be fine with a heated Nosferatu and just making sure that you just have your scrambler on.
How important were mentors to you when you first started out?
Extremely. I take that back. Mentors can only do so much. Mentors can open the door for you, but at the end of the day, you have to walk through it. What I mean by that is, where I am today and where the guys that I fly with very frequently are today, it's not because someone held our hand to get here. We innately find it fun what we do. Like I have a drive to come home every day, or to wake up and at some point jump into a ship and go kill other ships on Tranquility and do it very well. Like I have a drive to do that. I find great satisfaction in killing 20 guys with only 4 of mine. I really like doing that. So in that regard, you need to have that innate desire to want to do that. Some people don't want to do that, and that's totally cool. Eve is a simulator. Do what you find is fun. Some people like driving around a jump freighter all day, or scanning or stuff like that, and that's cool. But as far as mentors go, when I first started, I learned everything myself. I taught myself everything. I read everything that there was to Eve, and that's just kind of my personality. And then when I started getting into small gang and really started learning how to fly my ship, I joined a group of players out of a website that I've been from for many, many years, which is Team Liquid. You may or may not have heard of it. But
Hatchery.
Yes, the Hatchery. And in the Hatchery, there was a player by the name of Quark UK, and people hated Quark because Quark.
He was a dick.
There we go. He's an arrogant, insufferable dick. But and I just do mean but, he is one of the greatest players that people generally don't know about, but he is one of the greatest players to ever grace the game, without question. His net worth is valued in multiple trillions. He has a state raven. I've seen it. There's only 2 of those in the game. His PvP is like when he used to play. He doesn't play anymore, but when he used to play, he's extremely good FC, extremely good pilot. And I flew with him, and he would scream and yell at me and call me a fucking retard all the damn time. And yeah, and I didn't care because I knew he was good, and I wanted to get good. And after a while, I started flying with him just in a duo roam. He thought I wasn't shitty enough to where I could fly with him duo. And then, before long, it wasn't him teaching me. It was me and him as colleagues, really. And now it's good to go. But I think mentors are important, but you need to make sure that you find a mentor that is going to help you do what you want to do. In my case, for example, exactly what Sting just said, Quark's a dick. Most people that flew with Quark couldn't fucking stand him.
I never flew with him. I just talked to him once, and he was a cunt.
Exactly, but he's so much worse when you're flying with him. And even as a mentor, he was like, "I'll be your mentor, sure, but I'm like the drunk, abusive father you never wanted." And it's just, but that's how I learned Eve. At the end of the day, like I said earlier, it has to be a you learning it. Like a you reading it, Quark just didn't sit down one day and be like, okay, a heated scram is, 12 kilometers. A heated web is 13 kilometers. You can only, get such and such a range out of ships. That's just you having the desire to wake up one day and be like, I wonder how far a Harbinger shoots with Scorch and maximum projection rigs. I should go test that out in EFT. I do things like that because I'm fucking weird. And the answer is 32 kilometers with 3% implants and forensics.
Wow.
The more, in my opinion, the more encyclopedic knowledge you have of the game, at least from the way I play it, the better. The guys I fly with in Turn Left and Mining Industry Exile Foundation and Warlords of the Deep, there are some guys that I fly with, they never fly on TQ. They live in EFT. They fucking live there. And their expertise of the game, as far as memorizing numbers and knowing every single possible number that you can imagine, is there. It's incredible. It blows me away. But that's just what they like to do. That's how they like to waste their time.
I'm thinking an EFT it'll take something out of a man, but you gain a lot.
EFT is amazing. I have it on my phone. I have it on my computer. I'll be sitting on the subway, and I'll just get this idea, and I'll be like, oh, I wonder if that'll work, and I'll EFT it all the way home. It's so
I had it
stupid.
on my phone, but my phone's shit, and it kept crashing on me.
But yeah.
Guess that's what I get for making too many rapid light armors.
Yeah, rapid light missile armor. You're getting 30 DPS out of that? You're getting 30 DPS out of that?
It gets 70 DPS, I think.
Big numbers, ooh.
Yeah.
You really should try the Enyo. It fits it a little bit easier. It's got a better power grid.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Squeeble's had a fit for that. Oh, God.
That's so funny. I think the first joke that I tried to make that actually kind of worked was a 10MN AB bomber. That was funny.
There's a 10MN Tristan fit I tried. It's fun.
Yeah, it's difficult to fly. You need snakes and links, literally, to make it work.
Yeah, you really do. Learn that the hard way.
Yep. But yeah. I'm sorry I couldn't show up the Serenade with the slicer and show you better, but currently I'm logged off deep in Vale of the Silent, and probably am still being hell camped by the 70-man fleet that was after me.
That was the reason for the delay, by the way, guys.
Yeah. Well, delay. There was no delay. It was supposed to be tomorrow, you fuckboy.
Fuck off, okay? I didn't read the post, but it was posted, I guess the op was posted at the wrong time. I can't fucking read, alright? Don't judge me.
I think Gobby just screwed up the timer.
To do that.
Yeah,
Well,
we think we just had a miscommunication because I had it as Eve time, and I think he thought it was the 18th, like American
I went
time.
off of the posted op.
Yeah, I'm talking
because
about
Horde dudes were poking me about it. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
you
no,
what,
I
you're
know.
right.
I
There
was
is an
talking
op
about
poster.
when I was talking to Chessur about it on Reddit. I think we just had a misunderstanding on Eve time.
Yeah, it
versus
doesn't matter
Freedom
because
time.
we're all gathered here today,
It's all good.
and we're having
I
a
don't
great
care.
time.
We're
all Gucci.
Indeed,
It's
we are.
Gucci.
Indeed, we are.
Are you
I
Gucci?
don't know. Considering when I started this recording, I don't think we all are.
Shit.
Well,
see now this recording is gonna go onto Reddit, and the Reddit's gonna read it, and they're gonna be like, "Holy shit, Chester's the biggest, smuggest cunt that ever lived."
But what about that thing guy
please.
that can't read posted op? What a fucking autist.
No, I'm already
That's what I
transcribing.
go like.
I'm already transcribing the part about how cancer Reddit is for a post on there.
Lovely. I remember
There's
I was
gonna
in.
be at least one dude that's gonna be like, "Who's that guy who keeps talking about how he's good at solo?"
Who's that
It's
guy that
just-
doesn't contribute anything constructive and just keeps making jokes? Fuck that guy. No,
I
it's
know,
literally
it's
me
too-
this whole
it's
time.
too funny. I don't know if you guys.
Gotta go, guys. If you're gonna be that way.
There was a thread earlier. I think it was, I don't know when it was, but it grew to like 300 fucking posts because apparently I said that streaming Eve isn't really that awesome because let's be honest here, streaming Eve can be pretty boring, and people
Yeah.
got really fucking mad about that comment.
What? Wait, what? It can be boring. What the fuck? Like, if there's no commentary at all to it, it's just watching somebody push buttons and you don't. Like, if you're not into Eve, you're not getting much out of the stream. Like, sure, there's some pretty explosions sometimes, but like half of what you're seeing is just weird stats. Like,
There's
It's
only
strange.
one dude that I know that I watch who plays Eve on Twitch. And the reason I watch him isn't because of the Eve, it's because he has a TV personality, and that's the thing that saves it.
It's like
Yeah,
a gamble for
need
me.
some
Like,
charisma.
I either
Well, you
try
know-
to like help people that stream that are new. Like I love looking at the new players streaming because I either try to recruit them to Horde or scam them.
The thing about streaming is you can have a TV personality or you can have a really nice pair of jugs, and that helps a lot.
When you have both, though, I mean, you're just gold.
Oh yeah, totally good to go then.
That gets you a job at CCP.
And it would probably get you a job at CCP too, because they want girls to join their team. They need
You're
more
already
Shadow Cats
booking
and
an
Lelus.
appointment for plastic surgeon.
Indeed. Shadow Cats and Lelus. All day.
What was the oh no, what was that girl's name?
Minship.
Mint. I didn't even have to explain what she did.
Yep.
You fuckers knew it already.
Yep.
Oh,
I know
man.
the story. I know the story quite well. Although I've only talked to her
Anyways,
once.
let's not talk about it. Then.
Yeah, let's not get into that. It's just a shameful.
Shame.
So shameful.
Shame.
Shame. Ring a ding ding. Shame. I don't know if you guys
Google is
have
your
watched
friend.
Game of Thrones, but
Oh, man.
We had all
episode
our
fucking
stations
10.
named after spoilers for the last
fucking
episode.
10. Oh my god.
how empty does everybody feel after that?
I'm pretty empty.
Not as empty.
Stations named after spoilers.
Honestly,
I'm
I felt,
thoroughly on.
honestly,
I'm thoroughly
I
on
felt
Team
worse.
White Watchers now.
Yeah, Boy Walker.
Yeah,
I cut-
okay, I
after
can,
that
I can
episode-
get behind that.
After that episode, I cut myself harder than a fucking emo kid at an Escape the Fate concert.
And I just laughed at you for it.
I'm not gonna lie, I felt more crushed when Jon Snow's dick blower died as she was shot in the lung. That struck me more.
Wow.
I liked Egret. And
Fuck
she kept
Ollie, man.
posted.
Egret was
Also,
Like, seriously.
She was
what the
badass.
hell happened to fucking Braum and Rickon? Are they in a tree getting raped by an old man?
Yeah,
or-
hey, where'd they go? You're right.
I
The
thought
old
Rick
man
was
is
going.
They,
Never
they're,
mind, I read the book. Not worth
yeah,
it.
no, the storyline doesn't line up with the book anymore. It's kind of weird.
Oh,
Basically,
man. I
the
can't
storyline
handle
is this Bram's storyline is at a point where they can't continue it until they get, I don't know who is keeping him behind, but like they need to get further into the story with some other characters before continuing with Bram because some weird stuff happens. It's long story.
That
Alright.
wasn't helpful at all.
You know what else really annoyed me? I have not read through the books yet, but I had two feelings of how this was going to end. The first is that the Khaleesi was going to get on her dragons. She was going to go over to Westeros. She was going to burn all of the White Walkers, and then she would be named queen. And then I don't think that's
5 books from now.
I don't think that's going to happen because I think the Khaleesi's going to.
It'll be another 2 books at least until she actually leaves her fucking city.
I think Khaleesi will get killed by the fucking
it'll be like 2 years
horse riders
before,
that picked her up.
Oh, that's terrible. She's
No.
the rightful ruler.
She's gonna rule all those people too.
There's
so 2 years until the Greyjoy guy takes her and just makes him try to take her.
I don't think Jon Snow's gonna stay dead because they got that
the fire
Red Priestess.
there.
Yeah, the fire lady. Yeah.
In the
She's
book,
gonna fucking
they
revive the shit out of him.
tell
He's
them-
gonna be like, oh.
He's either gonna get revived or he's gonna become Jon Snow White.
Yeah.
Jon Snow.
He's gonna be the commander.
I'm kind of pissed that
You
they
know what
cut
he should
out.
do?
It's not a black op, it's a white op.
First
Now I
order of
gotta
business
tag this
is
damn
kill
recording as
fucking
Game of
Ollie.
Thrones spoilers.
Because fuck Ollie.
I'm kind of pissed
Ollie's
that.
a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, fuck Ollie. But I'm kind of pissed that they cut out the part out of the books where Lady Stark comes back because those parts are kind of
That
cool.
was freaking weird.
Spoilers. Just kidding. I know.
It doesn't happen in the show, so
Yeah.
you know.
I wish it did.
I didn't
'cause
feel
was-
anything
oh, that was
important. Like
weird.
it's a long story. What happens? Like ugh.
Her coat gets thrust, so she gets kissed, and then that's basically it. She goes back to life. Ooga booga.
Wait,
Hey, you guys want to see my favorite
I
subject?
paraphrase that a lot. She gets her coat, her throat cut. Beric Dondarn or the Red Priest guy kissed her. She goes back to life, and she's super creepy. She can't talk anymore. Basically,
There's my favorite
yeah.
subreddit, guys. by the
Fucking
way.
weird.
It's
It's
r//
George
fuck
R.
Ollie.
R. Martin.
A really nasty picture of a total cunt. Not safe for work.
But anyway, is there anything else Eve related that I can help you gentlemen with? And ladies. And crickets.
I know I can hear them too. They're outside my door. Wait, no, the window. That sounds.
Thanks for coming and talking to us.